Okay, a little Sanskrit lesson at the beginning of our class. And this is for our younger generation people. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not your sister, she's too little. 7. So this is a question for you 7. When we say the Hare Krishna mantra, what's the meaning of Hare? Well, if you know the answer, put up your hand. Hare? I see 1 hand. I see 2. I see 2.5. You're not sure. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay, but how did we get Hare from Radharani? Or Radharani, how do we get Hare? How does it work? Let's see if your friend next to you knows. Do you know the answer? That's okay. It's okay. We're just discussing. Don't disappear. You're part of the 7. Come forward. Come forward. Okay. There's 3 sets of questions. There's one of them. You have an answer? How do you get Hare from Radha's name? What? What? Yeah, but that's who Radha is. But how do we get Radha from Hare, Hare from Radha? What's that connection? Okay. Let me ask you a third question, second question. Radharani's name is Radha, and when you want to call Radha, what do you say? Radhe. Radhe. Right? Radhe. If you go to Vrindavan, you'll hear everyone, many, many people, not everyone. Radhe, Radhe, Jai Radhe, Radhe, because her name is Radha, and when you call her, the vocative, this is a Sanskrit term, or grammar term, when you call Radha, it becomes Radhe. Okay? Second question. How do you get from Radha to Hare? Answer. Ready? Here's the answer. The answer is one of the names of Radha is Hara. Hara means the internal potency. So it's her name is Radha, but there's a name for the internal potency, and that's Hara. And when you call Hara, you say Hare. Therefore, you could say Radhe Krishna, but we say Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. The internal potency of Balaram is also Hara, and then the vocative is Hare. Or Sita. She's the spiritual potency. She can be known also as Hara. And when you call her, it's Hare. Okay, now here's a third one. The reason for bringing this up is it's a little training to say the pranam mantra properly. It's not, Krishna knows what you mean when you say it, so it's okay. But namaste, there's this namaste is the vocative, namaste Saraswate Deve. Many devotees say namaste Saraswati. Ooh. And that's why I'm bringing it up, because when I was saying it, I was saying namaste Saraswate, and you're saying namaste Saraswati. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatya Desatarnine. I mentioned this now because some time ago, I mentioned to Badahari Prabhu, you younger generation people, you know who is Badahari, right? Kirtanir. If you know a little bit about Kirtan, you know who is Badahari. But a wonderful Kirtanir, Badahari, Prabhupada disciple. And I noticed when he sings in the beginning, he just like I did, he says the prana mantra of Srila Prabhupada and then the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Panchatattva mantra and then Hare Krishna mantra. So I noticed again and again, different times when he's singing, he says Namaste Saraswati. So because I have a relationship with him, I wasn't picking on or anything. I just said, this means this and that means that. So it's Namaste Saraswati. And his reply was, several devotees have commented the same to me, Sanskrit scholars. Friendly, warm, this is a friendly, warm suggestion. Say it properly. And he said, but I've been saying it for so many years, it's really hard to switch over to Namaste Saraswati. So you're young. This is a course correction. So let's do it again. So, Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desata Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gauranga Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama. Okay, now you're all trained up in Sanskrit. Let's go to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, text number 3. And for those of you that may not have been with us for the part 1 and 2, or text 1 and 2, Ṛṣabhadeva is giving instructions to his 100 sons. And the instruction he's giving, apparently shortly after he gives this Bhagavatam class, he retires from his active duties as king. He turns the kingdom over to one of those 100 sons, the eldest, Bharat Maharaj, his eldest of the 100 sons, becomes the next king, and Ṛṣabhadeva leaves home. But so here he's, not that he hasn't trained his sons from childhood, but this is a summary departing class. So the first of the 2 verses, quick summary. The do's and the don'ts. Don't live like an animal, live like a human. And what's human life? Tapo divyam. Voluntarily, we spoke a little bit about this. Volition, another way of saying volition is free will, exercising free will. So volition, using your free will to engage in tapa. Tapa means some inconvenience. Doesn't mean it has to hurt, just some inconvenience. Like, for example, our following of the regular principles. That's tapa. And people that don't like tapa, they don't like the regular principles. But we like the regular principles because it's part of human life. And there's other tapas, we spoke about it, but the purpose behind the tapa, or the inconvenience, voluntarily accepting some inconvenience, rising early and taking bath, it's not inconvenience, it's inconvenient to not do those things. But to do those things, that's when the purpose behind it is to please Krishna, then it's tapo divyam. So human form of life is meant for that. And the concluding part is, those who live their life that way, they're eligible for Brahma Sukh. Sukh there's these two opposite words, sukha and dukkha. Dukkha means distress. Sukha means the opposite, happiness. Happiness and distress. It's part of the world of duality that we live in. Brahma Sukha is transcendental happiness. And the transcendentalists, they want transcendental happiness, and that's the outcome for those who are engaged in human life. Say it again. Human life is meant to realize who we are. And who we are is the spirit soul, not the body. So we may undergo some inconvenience of the body or the mind for a higher purpose, to know who we are. And when we know who you are, that's Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. Those of you that know the verse, you can say with me, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nasochati Nakangsati Samak Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. It's a nice verse from Bhagavad Gita that says the same thing. Those that have this stage of Brahma Sukha or Brahma Bhuta, Prasanatma. Brahma Bhuta, Prasanatma. Prasana means happiness, and Atma means soul. Happiness on the platform of the soul. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. Na sochati, na kangsati, no hankering, lamenting. So, samak sarveshu, seeing all living entities equal. That comes in verse number 2 of this Canto 5, Chapter 5. It's a quality of one who is experiencing Brahma Sukha, spiritual happiness. That's anantam, unending, unlimited, not the happiness that comes and it goes. There's happiness that comes and it goes. And that's not what real happiness is. It's the reflection of the real happiness. So that's the second verse. Oh, that's the first verse. The second verse is how to get there. How to get there. Second verse is Mahat Sevam. So we spent some time discussing what is Mahat or Mahatma, and then rendering service to the Mahatmas. That's the doorway or dvaram or gate into this becoming a happy person, a spiritually happy person. And then there's the do not. The do not is engage in spending time with worldly-minded people and doing the things with worldly-minded people that worldly-minded people do, and you get covered, materially contaminated coverings. And so that the spiritual happiness is not going to be within your experience. It's within somebody's experience, but not within your experience if you keep the wrong association. So association is essential. Sadhu Sangha instead of Asat Sangha. Association with unwholesome people. And the result, we heard in text 2, there's a result of, or who's the characteristic of those who you should associate with? Who are the Mahats? By what characteristics are they known? Really nice. Not attached to their homes, although they may be householders. Not attached to wife, children, friends, or wealth. At the same time, they're not indifferent. So neutral. Dutiful, but not attached. Such people are interested in collecting only enough money to keep their body and soul together. So some nice characteristics. Text 3. Oh, excuse me, that was text 3, wasn't it? That was text 3. Here's text 2. I got ahead. Equipoised. Don't see the difference between one living entity and another. Very peaceful. Fully engaged in devotional service. Sounds like everybody in the room. Always very peaceful. Devoid of anger. Work for the benefit of everyone. Do not behave in any abominable way. So that was text 2. Those are characteristics, or lakshana, the features of the person is a good kind of person to associate with. Because it's the dwaram, it's the gateway, the entryway into spiritual happiness. And serving such persons, not just hanging out, but serving such persons. Okay, so now let's chant together text number 3. So those of you that have a little handheld device, you can look at it. If you don't have one, you can just hear. Ye va miyishe kritaso radartha janeshu deham bhara vartikeshu griheshu jayatmaja ratimatsu napriti yukta yavad artascha loke yevamishe kritasoradartha janeshu deham bharavartikeshu griheshu jayatmaja ratimatsu napriti yukta yavad artascha loke. Those who are interested in reviving Krishna consciousness and increasing their love of Godhead, that's all of us, do not like to do anything that is not related to Krishna. They are not interested in mingling with people who are busy maintaining their bodies, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. They are not attached to their homes, although they may be householders. We read this a moment ago. They are not attached to wives, children, friend, or wealth. At the same time, they are not indifferent to the execution of their duties. Such people are interested in collecting only enough money to keep the body and soul together. Purport. Whether he is an impersonalist or a devotee, one who is actually interested in advancing spiritually should not mingle with those who are simply interested in maintaining their body by means of so-called advancement in civilization. Did we read this already? No. Okay. Those who are interested in spiritual life should not be attached to homely comforts in the company of wife, children, friends, and so forth. Even if one is a grihastha and has to earn his livelihood and should be satisfied by collecting only enough money to maintain body and soul together, one should not have more than that, nor less than that. That's an interesting line to find, right? As indicated herein, a householder should endeavor to earn money for the execution of bhakti yoga. Shravanam kirtanam vishno, smaranam padasevanam, archanam bandhanam dasyam, sakyam atmanivedanam. A householder should lead such a life that he gets full opportunity to hear and chant. He should worship the deity at home, observe festivals, invite friends in, and give them prasad. A householder should earn money for this purpose, not for sense gratification. Now, the sum of his audience, at least 9 of his audience, they never became married. But presumably most of the others became married, and most of the people in the world become married. And that's just fine. That's a proper thing to do. And when that happens, then there should be some guidelines. That's what's being given here by the father to his sons. Principles to live by. That's why this section is so important. Why Prabhupada referred to it again and again. Particularly the first 2 verses, again and again. This third one, not as much. So So all three of these so far, there's a do and there's a do not. That's how we started on the first class. There's a definition is do something and don't do something, or the definition is inclusive and exclusive. A good definition has both. What does that mean? Like a very nice example of this, I spoke it before, but shh. I spoke it before, but here it is again. Rupa Goswami gives a definition of bhakti. So to explain to people or establish a guiding principle that'll last forever, what bhakti is what bhakti is and what bhakti is. It's both within the definition. A good definition is both inclusive and exclusive. So what's it not? It's not the cultivation of fruitive activities, karma, or speculative knowledge, jnana karma janavritam. That's what it isn't. So if it's not those things, what is it? Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam Bhaktir Uttama. That's what it is. It's behavior. Shila generally it means behavior or action or conduct. Anushilana means following. Following whom? Following perfected souls. Following the great souls, same as the Mahat Sevam, following the great souls. And then Anukulyena means accepting. Krishna Anushilana, accepting those things that are pleasing to Krishna or favorable to Krishna or for satisfying Krishna. Accept those things. The implication is don't accept other things. So it's not explicitly stated in that definition, but the excluding is already in the first half. That is karma and gyan. For the purpose of enhancing fruitive activity or for enhancing capacity for mental speculation, don't go there. Gosh, that's like material life. Or take any at any age or any stage of life, we do those things. And we do those things for those purposes. We go to school. You go to school, right? Of course you go to school. And what's the purpose? To get good grades, because that's what you're supposed to do when you go to school, is get good grades. What's the reason for getting good grades? So you can be an achiever. What do you want to achieve? So you can get into a good college. And why do you want to get into good? So I can get a good career. Why do you want to get a good career? So I can get money. Money is the honey. Get money. That's why I go to school. And what do you do with the money? Objects that money buys. I got so many objects and I want some more. So I got more money. And then you get old and die. And you can't take the money with you. You can't take anything with you. So you don't take anything with you. Something's wrong. Something's missing in that picture. Is there another purpose? So the other purpose is the purpose of pleasing Krishna. Oh, sounds nice, but how do you do it? Well, that's what Scripture is for, and that's what sadhus are there for. Mahat Sevam, that's the previous verse. They show by example what it looks like. If you sit right there, the next person isn't going to be able to come in, so you can't sit there. I'm a cop, traffic cop. But see, we can see each other, okay? There we go. Thank you very much. You got the coveted spot right there. Okay. Human life is meant for tapo divyam. It's meant for and what's the tapo divyam for? What's tapa for? What's divyam for? It's for achieving a transcendental purpose, something that's beyond human existence. There's another definition of bhakti besides Rupa Goswami's. Very celebrated, well-known, often quoted verse. And it also says that, do nots and the do's. Here it goes. Sarva upadi vanir muktam tatvartvena nirmalam. Rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktirutama. If you know the verse, you can say it with me. Sarva upadi vanir muktam tatvartvena nirmalam. Rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktirutama. Yesterday evening, we had a class with the Chinese devotees, and they wanted to know, what does upadi mean? So upadi, nice word, it means designation. Like, you're a young girl with a yellow dress. But that's not who you are. And wait a while, and you're going to be an older girl, maybe with another colored dress, and then wait a while, and you're in some other body, and it's not who you are. Or I'm a sannyasi that's, getting cranky and old. But that's not who I am. So upadi is the covering of body or mind, and it's not who we are. Not just, humans, but all living entities. Thinking of the living entity in terms of the covering, that's upadi. And so sarva upadi, it means all upadis, vanir muktam, leaving them to the side, rejecting. Sarva upadi vanir muktam. Tat paratvena nirmalam. Nirmalam, it means without contamination. Mala and nirmala. Rishikena rishikesha sevanam. That's easy. The senses are rishikas. And there's the master of the senses, he's the rishika isha, or rishikesha. So with his senses, you serve the master of the senses. Bhaktir uttama. Bhaktir uchate. Bhakti is said to be that which is using what faculties we have in serving Krishna. And that's same as these verses are expressing. There's the do's and there's the do-nots. Don't live your life based upon upadis, because that's not who you are. If you want to know who you are, don't base your life on who you're not. Sarva upadi vanir muktam. So if that's not who I am, then who am I? Well, I'm the eternal servant of Krishna. And then etc., etc., etc. That is meant to grow, but is a starting point. It's who I am, and then it's meant to grow and grow and he's getting trained up a little bit. A little bit. Nice going. So now he's instructing his sons, and if they are to become householders, here's what to do, here's what not to do. So some of you are householders, and some of you are maybe one day become householders. Maybe some of you will be sannyasis, who knows? What do you think? You're smiling. Let's see what happens. But if you become a householder, then here's some do's and some do-nots. Principles to live by. Principles to live by. So if you're a householder, it's a duty to earn something to maintain the household. And so where's the target that's being established by his father, and his father's his king. He's the emperor of the world. He could give like lots of affluence and opulence to his sons, but he's not encouraging that. He's encouraging you earn and what you need, and not more, not less. That's Prabhupada's words. So how do you draw that line? Let's spend a little bit of time with that one. And here's a simple answer. It depends. It depends on what you need to remain steady and stable. Because too much becomes an enticement for enjoyment, and too little is your mind is disturbed and distracted. So where the line is that I can sustain. I'm always trying to reduce, but this is what I need to remain stable and steady. Stable and steady. It's a little bit like how much should I eat? It's not the same, but it's similar. On the one hand, on the other hand, you eat sumptuously, but don't eat too much. So what's that? So enough to maintain body and soul together, and you're always thinking, how can I do with a little bit less? And here's another principle. Whatever it is that you do have, be charitable. I like this story, so just share a nice story. Something I learned from Bhakti Tirtha Swami. You've heard his name before? Bhakti Tirtha Swami, African-American sannyasi. I'll tell you a little bit about him. He grew up in a ghetto in Cleveland. And during the time that I was in college and he was in college, undergraduate college, there was a trend to, particularly amongst Ivy League schools, to grant scholarships for underprivileged black people. It was a trend. And so he, Bhakti Tirtha Swami, was given a full scholarship to Princeton University. From a ghetto to scholarship to Princeton University. Princeton's a big school. When he was growing up, he shared this with me. He said he had next to nothing. And one day, his mother saw one of his friends that came into the house, and he had a shirt that was ripped and had holes in it. So his mother took Bhakti Tirtha Swami to the closet. There were 2 shirts in his closet. He said, give one of your shirts to your friend. And he said, from that and just the nature of my mother, whatever you have, be charitable. If somebody is needing, you extend yourself to them. And when he became a sannyasi, that's how he lived his life too, giving not just stuff, but giving bhakti very liberally to people who are suffering because they don't have bhakti. Not just because they have a ripped shirt instead of a nice shirt. And he only had 2. Take out one and give to your friend. The principle of charity is something that one should learn, and parents should teach their children from childhood. Some of you are parents, some of you are children. Something that my father did is, we went to church, and one of the things you do when you go to church is parents and adults, you have this box, and inside the box are little envelopes, and in the envelopes you put some donation that goes into they pass around I forget what they call it, a plate, a wooden plate, and you put your donation into the wooden plate, and it goes down this aisle and then over to the other aisle. And so the money came from my father, but he, he gave us allowance, and he was training us. Then some part of your allowance, you put in the envelope and give to the church. Just that wasn't like there was no pushback from any of us. It was just a principle that we lived by. Because at what point do you become charitable? You could say, I'll become charitable and have a lot. That isn't what happens. If you have a lot, you're not charitable from when you have little. You're not going to be charitable when you have a lot, because it's always, I want more. That's a principle to be charitable. And your capacity for charity may be modest, but it's a principle to live by. Anyway, I'm getting a little off track, but it's how these are instructions of how to live your life. So it has to do with earning, and you earn, and then whatever is beyond what you need, you're charitable in principle. And supposing you don't earn much, supposing you earn much, you're charitable proportionate to your capacity. It's a principle to live by. And associate with persons that live by such principle. And when you do, from the previous verse, the qualities of those persons become your qualities. It's really simple. Sangat sanjayate kama, kama krodha bijayate. It's in Bhagavad Gita. We take on qualities like those with whom we associate. Sangha is the association word. Those that are like this, you become like this. Those that are like that, you become like that. It doesn't like automatically, but it's natural. It happens in natural sequence. You want to become learned, go to school. Associate with educated people and you become educated. You want to become a drunkard? Go hang out in a place where people do drinking and you become a drunkard. Real easy. Etc., etc. So the choice of association is very important. Then when there is resource, and it's what I need, that resource, even what I need, should be connected to what's written here in the purport as the 9 processes of bhakti. And the 9 processes of bhakti, where does that come from? So this is an adult question. Where are the 9 processes of bhakti described in Srimad Bhagavatam? I see 2 hands. I see 3 hands. Any of our ladies over here know that answer? Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj. You know where? Canto 7, chapter. Canto 7, chapter 5. Prahlad Maharaj is having a conversation with his father, and his father, Hiranyakashipu, wants to know, what's the best thing that you've learned from your teachers? Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. What? Vishnu? He's my enemy. Hearing and chanting about Vishnu. Who polluted you like this? So, that which is what we should be doing, the best thing to know is to do devotional service in these 9, any one of the 9 processes or combination, and using finance for those purposes. I mean, nice altar, books, and musical instruments, and these are facilities, paraphernalia, that's meant for Krishna service. So it's just fingertips away. And a cultivation of life that's like that is ideal. And you live your life that way, and then it's natural. People who come to know you and they come to see you in your home, they see this and that, and they understand how they can also do. By your example, you're giving others an opportunity to do the same, engage in devotional service. That's the proper use of resource. householder should lead such a life that he gets full opportunity to hear and chant. Again, that's subjective. What's full opportunity? You know, some people are very busy. Prabhupada writes, and it's true, Prabhupada writes in Sri Upanishad, we sometimes ask people to please take this book. It's Christmas book distribution marathon time, so we get a little plug for book distribution. And some people may say, oh, I have no time. They may say some other things too, but I don't have time. And Prabhupada writes in Upanishad, when people say like that, it's true because they're not interested in Krishna. Krishna gives them so much to do. They don't have time. But they don't have time because they've chosen to have too much to do without Krishna. So he gives them a lot to do. Is there an opportunity to do this? To chant and read and... So a little sharing. I think this is for our younger generation people. When I was in Phoenix, Arizona, for a japa retreat, some devotee I've known for like 20 years, and I hadn't seen them for maybe 15 years because their job and their living situation, etc. She's now, the family is now living in San Diego because the job has taken them to San Diego. So they have a daughter who is 19. And the daughter that's 19 was homeschooled. And I asked, how's it going? And, you know, with your academics, she said, I'm in my second year of medical school. I said, come again? And her mother said, we homeschooled her, and she started her undergraduate study when she was 14. She was in college when she was 14. How old are you? 11. I mean, it's not competition or anything like that. It's just put it in perspective. When she was 14, she enrolled in college. And she finished in 4 years. Then she was 18 or 17, 14, 15, 16, 17. Then she went to college. So 18, and now she's 19 in her second year of med school. And I said, how's your sadhana? She said, I'm maintaining 8 rounds a day, and I try to read an hour a day. You know, in med school. My jaw dropped. But, you know, she's a very calm person, very mind-controlled, sense-controlled, very focused person. And then she was a little worried when she gets into, you know, what happens next, whatever it's called, rotation and something. Internship, is that what it's called? Residency, yeah. It's going to get really busy, but then, you know, she has some time before it gets really busy. So she wanted to know, how should I use that time? So time management is for everybody. Kids in school, time management is important because there's always stuff to do. But there's also all these time-wasting things. Anyway, back to this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Time is a resource. The human form of life is a resource. Use it wisely, because if you don't use it wisely, chances are it'll be taken from you. Time is going to take things anyways. But if you use your human form of life wisely, like it's being recommended in these 3 verses, then it leads to elevation in this life and the next. Principles to live by. So let's see if there's some discussion. I've found that I like to speak less and discuss more, because the best part is the discussion part. But I've also learned the first question takes a while.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
When I heard this, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti. that is some-
Uchite, yeah.
Yeah. And I heard that, irrespective of Upadhi, all of us
Yeah.
should practice that.
Yes.
I made my preparation, my question.
Okay.
But at the same time, we are also facilitated in this world to experience the karma credits with which we were born. I'm sharing my experience here. Fortunately, I have come in contact with the Shastras, like Satsanga, like coming here,
Yeah.
which says bhakti is to be practiced. If I want to exercise my free will in practicing bhakti, it seems my observation is that this karma credits which are forcing me to experience or go through some pain or pleasure experiences doesn't seem to allow this. How to address these conflicts in
Doesn't seem
practice?
to, it doesn't seem to allow what?
Like if I want to engage my senses in serving the God, it's
Okay.
not going in that direction, but it's pulling in the other direction.
Okay.
So, but the other one is supposed to be practiced.
Which one is supposed to be practiced?
Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam
Okay.
Bhakti.
So your question is, the conditioning pulls in one way, spiritual teaching pulls in another way. How to reconcile and what to do?
You have to address this problem in every day to day.
Regulation. In one word, regulation. So by regulation, that means when you start your day, most people get up in the morning. And when you get up in the morning, then what are some important things for you to do in a regulated way that moves things in the direction of Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam? So, for example, you brush your teeth. Most people brush their teeth. So you do that for Krishna. That's one of the senses, and you use the senses in the service. So why do I brush my teeth? How does that connect with service to Krishna? Because it'll maintain oral hygiene. I'll take a bath because it's also cleanliness is next to godliness. So I'm still doing, etc. I'm doing some of the same things, but I'm doing them for the purpose of senses engaged in service of the master of the senses. It's connecting the worldly with the transcendental. Then, after I do those things and put on fresh clothes and nice tilak, then what comes next? Well, the big rock comes next. The big rock is some spiritual practice where I'm gauging my tongue and my ear and my mind and my body in some practices that's not part of the worldly conditioning practices, but it's the directly spiritual practices. Some Shravanam Kirtanam activities, and that's engaging the senses in the service of the master of the senses. And, each one of us does a little bit of that. Some do more of that, some do a lot of that, some do less, whatever it is. But that's an example. Now, it's not the worldly people don't do hearing and chanting. They go hear and chant something else. Turn the radio on or whatever they do. And the hearing and chanting is with another activity, another subject matter, another vibration. So we do that deliberately. That's for the satisfaction of Rishikesh. And then you put the big rock in and do it every day, every day, every day. And that's cultivation of bhakti.
If I am not able to
Why do you say? No. You're saying not able, and I'm saying no. It's not that you're not able. According to the Bhagavatam, there's nothing material that can start and nothing material that can stop. Bhakti is another principle altogether. So, for example, you can brush your teeth for Krishna. Or you cannot. You can take your morning. This is how I was trained. Why am I putting on my dhoti? Why? Why am I putting on clean clothes? You can do it for a material, you can do it for a spiritual reason. Cleanliness is next to godliness. And I feel better, but it's healthy, and I can give many other reasons. But the spiritual cultivation can't. It's just consciousness, and through training, that consciousness becomes your life. It's just training, and you also have a trainer. You have understand principles, and you live by them.
So in that practice, Maharaj,
Yeah. It's going to have an impact, but it doesn't create a break. I mean, Bhakti Tirtha Swami, born in a ghetto family, he didn't have much going for him. But he had a good mother. And so, probably had some good, karma back there. Although he was born in a ghetto. Because there was some purpose for Krishna to put him in that born-in situation. So it's a detail, but it's a nice detail. He's now a college kid at Princeton University. He became the class president of his graduating class. An African-American guy being class president was in Princeton University is a big deal. And he was the valedictorian of his graduating class. Best student. So, but supposing somebody's not the best student, supposing somebody's not the president of their class, their graduating class. So it's going to have some impact, but it doesn't create or break bhakti. Bhakti is independent. It comes about independently, and it flows independently, and nothing can stop it. Nothing material can stop it. Circumstances can impede it, but it can't stop it. It just will come out another way instead of this way. It'll come out that way.
so karma not to stop our bhakti, we should be.
Yeah. And so I'm using, because Prabhupada used the word, it's all a matter of training. And training means association, sadhu sangha. You have sadhu sangha that trains you what bhakti life is, and you exercise your bhakti muscle, and you get bhakti muscle. Just have a good trainer.
This becomes more stronger than.
Yeah. It's impacting to some degree, but depending upon how well you exercise your bhakti muscle, it doesn't impact you much. You can be aware. There's this tendency that influence, my mind is going or something. Somebody gets angry, or somebody gets sad, or somebody gets depressed, or somebody gets wild, or somebody gets whatever. We all have tendency, karma or vasana, tendencies. But bhakti does two things. It cleanses and it lifts or awakens. And there's something below the conditioning or the karma, and that's who you are. That's back to the samadhi topic. Not who we are. It's impacting, but it's not who you are. The mind goes and the senses go, and and you may go, but you don't have to. Anything else? Yes. Hare Krishna.
I have a very dumb question.
You have a dumb question? That's what I thought you said. Hold the microphone. Your voice is soft.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So, where is it mentioned in the scriptures or anywhere about the dress code of dressing modestly? Like, quite often when I try to talk to some devotees to dress modestly and come to the temple, the very first question I get is, where is it mentioned in the scriptures? It's all man-made and it's not an appropriate dress for the temple. So, I do not know an answer to that question.
Jagadananda, could you understand what she said?
What he's saying is, where is it mentioned in the scriptures that we should dress modestly?
Modestly.
Yeah. That's what he has to ask in discussion. We try to tell people that's what he's saying. But he's feeling very resistant from the others. We're asking them, where is it mentioned in the scripture? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somehow I'm half deaf or something. I have to ask for it. Okay. I'm not sure where it's stated in scriptures. I know it's common sense. And then comes the line, what's modesty? And what's immodest? Where's the line? My thoughts are, I'm pausing because my thoughts are going to, how did Prabhupada deal with those circumstances? And Prabhupada didn't address those circumstances so much. He addressed instead the bhakti principle. Chant, dance, take prasadam here. And if somebody comes to the temple before the deity and they're chanting, dancing, taking prasadam and hearing, that's good. And then depending on how bhakti grows, then this question can be raised for somebody who wants to know, what's appropriate, where's the line of what's no longer appropriate. For such persons, there's a principle. I don't know the scripture. It's a specific scriptural reference. It probably is, but I'm not coming to my mind. The principle is Krishna should be pleased. Anukuyena Krishna Anushilanam. So if you're dressing this way or that way, other than for the pleasure of Krishna, what's this clothing style? What does it have to do with? Drawing attention to oneself instead of drawing the attention to Krishna and pleasing Krishna. But let somebody's bhakti become awakened before that kind of conversation. I could give examples, but it's a principle. What we want to do is, using Prabhupada's phrase, fan the spark. So you're going to the temple, you want to give encouragement, fan the spark. Someone has a bhakti tendency, that it's modest, or it's small, it's not grown. So find out something that they that inspires them in bhakti life, and encourage that which inspires them in bhakti life. And gradually, as the bhakti becomes stronger, according to scripture, good qualities will become the decorations of that person who bhakti becomes stronger. So it's a byproduct of bhakti becoming stronger. So your focus, my focus, should be bhakti becomes stronger, and then behaviors can be modified according to the desire to please Krishna. And then the modesty topic can come up. Who are you trying to please? But it's a principle for anything. So, because this came up recently, during Kartik month, the devotees do some Kartik Vrata. It's recommended in scripture, Kartik Vrata. So then, at the end of Kartik, there's Pandava Nirjal Ekadasi. There's a Pandava Nirjal Ekadasi, excuse me. Bhishma Panchika. So there's a set of, restrictions or austerities that one might do. Some people may do it as a fashion because all the other kids are doing it, so I'm going to do it too because all the kids are doing it. But what's the reason behind it? Somebody asked a group of people that was, they're talking and planning to observe Bhishma Panchika kind of like intensely. So they just asked them, what's your purpose? And they said, what, weight loss? Someone else might say, it increases my piety, and with piety increased, then comes more prosperity and elevation after this life. So we want to awaken bhakti in ourselves and in others, and so our attention goes to that more than rules. Rules aren't 0, but rules aren't 10 either. And the principle of bhakti is pleasing Krishna, satisfying the senses of Krishna. Right? Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam. So amplify that. Depends on the person, how you can say that nicely so they won't be offended or say, look at you and say, where's that in scripture?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
So, I had a question about Ṛṣabhadeva's son Bharat Maharaj.
Okay.
So, after Bharat Maharaj died, and then he got the deer body,
Right.
and then he got Jada Bharat's body.
Yes.
So, why didn't he go through all the species before he got another human life?
Okay, that's a nice question. He was awarded, he was unique. It was the exception, not the rule, for starters. To be in a deer's body and have perfect remembrance of everything he did in his previous life before he was a deer, that's pretty exceptional. So he was given remembrance, even it was not normal to be remembering one's previous life, what to speak of in the body of a deer. So the merit of his previous life as Bharat Maharaj was so exalted that he was then bumped up from the lower species right up to not just human species, but the son of a Brahmana. Because of the merit that he had accumulated, despite his mistake, he had attained the stage of Bhava Bhakti. He wasn't just like a nice king. He was in a very elevated stage of bhakti. So that was what he was carrying within. he had to, and so he did, take the consequence of, it's not only specifically in the pastime it describes, it's not only that he became attached to a deer, that happened, but also he consciously and purposely neglected, slackened, desisted from his spiritual practices, his bhakti practices. He just checked out. So that brought the consequence. But he had all this elevated, very elevated devotional consciousness, and therefore he was awarded the Brahman birth directly from a deer. Because he had like human consciousness, even he was in the body of a deer. That's pretty unusual. Okay, you have something? Yeah.
Krishna Guru Maharaj. I have a question regarding the properties which we are discussing, like for the saintly person, like, I have a specifically question on tolerance, Prabhu. So basically, when we are practicing devotional service, and basically like we sometimes get some appreciations, right?
Sometimes you get
appreciation for the services, right? And we don't, I mean, like it creates some like like I would say like it's little pride inside in our heart, right? I mean, even though we are not intending that pride. So my question is like how we can tolerate that urge of that little pride, even though we are doing devotional service.
Have somebody criticize you.
That is easy to tolerate.
That happens, doesn't it? No, it's the quality of humility is the antidote for pride. Pride is I, me, and mine. It's it's false ego conception, and that pride is easily manifest when that's part of one's existence or consciousness. So what's the antidote? It's humility. So how does one cultivate humility? It's just wake up to reality and maintain that awake state. The reality, it could elaborate, but we're very tiny. Not only 1/10,000th the size of the tip of a hair, but in the totality of everything, we're quite tiny. And if something has come to you that gives you an ability to do something, where's that ability come from? And wherever that ability comes from can be taken from the same place it gave that ability. So the credit doesn't go to you. The credit goes to the person from whom that ability has come. It's purity. And so if someone gives some recognition, it goes to the source where that ability came from. So, you can say, because the devotees have trained me very nicely how to do such and such, I'm now able to do such and such. Before I was a bumbling idiot. Or, you'd have to quite go to that extent, but it's, don't let it stick, let it go. If there's some praise, don't say no, no, no. Say yes, yes, yes. The person from whom this ability has come deserves all the credit. My incompetence is getting in the way, but the person who is really the great person is the one that's the reservoir of all of this nice service capacities. I just said yes a little bit with kind of a dull instrument. And it's true. It's not like cute. It's true. That's reality. We're tiny. You want me to elaborate, or you could?
Yeah, I mean, like, I have a follow-up question with that. Yesterday in Bhagavatam class, we discussed that, Krishna cuts the knot of that ahankara, basically.
Yes, yes, that's
yeah,
right.
But
You remember. That's good.
yeah, my question is like, why, when we perform devotional service, Krishna cut the knots of that ahankara, right? But I'm just confused, like, why we are getting those ahankara while we are performing the devotional service.
We want to enjoy. Not rocket science. I want to enjoy. And with the bodily conception or false ego conception, I want to enjoy means fill in the blank. But I'm at the center. It's all about my enjoyment. Just ask me. It's false ego. So go back. When living entities, the glance of Mahavishnu goes into Pradhan, the first thing that happens, there's living entities, and there's the time energy, and the time energy agitates Prakriti, and the material elements start to separate out with that agitation by the time energy and the living entities. And the first energy that separates out from Pradhan is false ego, and false ego covers the living entity. Before we even get a body, we're covered. Now, how do you get a hold of that false ego to get rid of it? It's just so subtle. It stays with you. It's the first thing to come. It's the last thing to go. Our dear friend, false ego, our constant companion. He never leaves us. It's subtle. So what's stronger than subtle? The spiritual. Now, you're not alone. You're with Krishna. He's situated in the heart, and he can give you remembrance, knowledge, forgetfulness. And it's easy to give forgetfulness because that's what you want. But when you're strong enough, you want remembrance. He gives you remembrance, and the light goes on. You smile instead of become proud. Somebody's appreciating. You smile. Krishna's very kind. He's given a little ability to this insignificant speck to do something to serve him. Krishna is very kind. All credit goes to him. It's transparent. Nothing sticks. False ego is where it sticks. Praise works the same way. Honor, dishonor. Okay. Anyone else?
Thank you.
One more question.
Oh. She's yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Maharaj, so my other question is about like enjoyment.
Enjoyment.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about enjoyment.
So if Krishna wants us to like do his bhakti and like engage in his service, and he wants us to come back to the spiritual world.
Yeah.
So why did he ever create the material platform?
That's a nice question. Just a little sharing. One time, I was attending the Rath Yatra in Chicago. It was by the lakeside some years ago. And somebody had met a Chinese lady. And the Chinese lady had a very simple name. Her name was T-E. So she said, I have just one question. What's that? Why creation? Which is your question. So he said, you expanded a little bit, but that's your question. Because we wanted it. No, Krishna wants something else. And we don't want what Krishna wants, we want what we want. Now Krishna can advise us, my dear devotee, my dear friend, my dear spirit soul. There's no enjoyment over there. I want to enjoy. Let me try again. There's no enjoyment over there. It's something else. It's the material world. Prison houses are not a place for enjoyment. I want to enjoy. Okay, I warned you. So it's because we want it. It's not because he wants it. So he sanctions. Even our free will goes against what he wants. He doesn't interfere with our free will. He gives us what is the consequence of misuse of free will. But that's the material world. And then the experiences of the material world that has this duality thing. Sometimes one is praised, like this question over here. Sometimes one is dishonored. Sometimes and sometimes. It's because we wanted it. Now, what to do? Why not just do a U-turn? You know, here I am trying to enjoy, and it's not happening. Not happening, at least according to my plan. It's something else is happening. So I want to do a U-turn. I want to go back where I came from. Why isn't it just that simple? Which is a little bit your question. Just do a U-turn. So I asked that question of some young people, many years ago. And one little girl, much younger than you, she raised her hand and said, the intelligence says, I want to do a U-turn. But my mind and senses say, I want to enjoy. Okay. And then another boy said, I too much attached to my independence. Those are good answers. You know, it's back to, you know, it's not you can't. It's we don't will it. And Krishna doesn't reconfigure our will. He reciprocates with our will. And then also what our deserve is, our karma. So that comes. So now you do a nice devotional service and your karma gets dissolved. Why do you keep doing the same stupid things? Because of tendencies. Well, asanas. Long-standing. How many lifetimes have we been here? So back to your question, you know, why? If God wants this, why that? He sanctions, he doesn't want it. But he doesn't interfere with free will. Otherwise, it's really a no-brainer. Supposing somebody grabs you by the shirt and says, look, be happy, okay? Or else. And there's nowhere else. Got it? Love me, or else. That's not God. It's voluntary. So we opted, you know. So we're given a place, a prison house, where it's not nice. But a good head of state doesn't want to fill up the prison house. I got a good idea. What's that? Let's develop a city and build lots of prisons. Wouldn't that be nice? But you have to build because there are going to be some people that violate the law. So there's a place for them. That's a prison. That's where we are. And the vast majority of living entities are in the spiritual world, and they don't come here, but somewhat. So here it is. The place for the rebellious. It ties into your question. Okay, yeah, but you get your second question.
One more.
You have to be a teenager to get microphones to work.
Yeah, when she has referred the example of Bharat Maharaj, I got connected back to my question, like
Okay.
bhakti practice is very greatly elevated, renunciated, whole kingdom, kids, everything. Still, he was because of this remembrance to dear he got a little bit slipped there.
Well, it wasn't just remembrance of the deer. It was also he neglected bhakti. He neglected. He consciously.
Yeah, he's such a elevated, great devotee.
And he consciously did a U-turn in the wrong direction.
Yeah. So we are talking about such a great devotee, but when I'm talking about myself, I think
you're not a great devotee like
yes.
Bharat. Okay.
Yeah.
So welcome to the club.
I see more difficulties. So, but what you suggested, Maharaj, that we should be consciously regulated way practice. But these obstacles might hamper the how best.
Welcome to life. I mean, there's obstacles in life. And what do? You remain determined and fixed. And Krishna will help you. Supposing the obstacle doesn't get moved, Krishna will help you transcendentally. Transcendentally, Krishna will help you. So it's a relationship. Stay fixed in the relationship principle, and you'll be all right, even if there's obstacles. An obstacle may be provided to help you become more determined to stay fixed in your relationship. Isn't it? You follow?
Yeah, as long as I'm fixed.
Well, but it's an opportunity. Difficulty or hardship can be an opportunity to take deeper shelter. You don't have to be one of the Pandavas to learn that lesson. The Pandavas learned that lesson, right? You have something. You're going to pass the microphone. Who has something else? Amara, you always have something. Okay. Go ahead. Just ask. I can hear you.
You need to live steady and stable. So if we have too much, then there is attachment, and there is, if it is too little, then mind is disturbed.
Yes.
But as being grahasthas, we are like maybe due to mode of passion, probably we are always thinking in future that we have to accumulate, because who knows,
yes,
kids need and this,
yes,
that.
Yes.
So, but what is the limit? That how do we decide how much is too much or
Rupa
too little?
Goswami set the standard. You can live by that standard. I know some householders that live by that standard. 25% for emergency.
Mm-hmm.
An emergency can happen. You don't know if it's going to happen, but in case it does, there's emergency funds. How much should that be? That's where the variable goes. When is enough? And more than enough is, then the charity factor comes into play. Mm-hmm. Even if it's not enough, because when's enough anyways, but you be charitable. I met a man who, he's elderly, he's losing his memory, it's difficult for him to walk from point A to point B. But he grew up with the principle of charity. He was just like, because I guess he's a little old, he just said it like 10 times. I have found that when I give, it comes back more than what I gave. And he's not working. He's not a working man. He's retired. But I didn't ask him how. He just was very clear that the principle of being charitable, it comes back even more than what I gave. And I just keep giving, and it keeps coming back. I didn't ask him, do you have a machine that prints currency or something? It's a fact. So, Krishna is the maintainer. still we do something for emergency, something. But, you know, when it's enough. Whatever it is, continue to be charitable. And as you have more, then you can be more charitable. And you have less, you can be a little less charitable, but in principle, be charitable. Mode of goodness principles helps to stabilize. And yet to be more clear where the line is, or should be.
Thank you.
Okay. Looks like that's it. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.